So I've been testing out the new agent builder in OpenAI, and it's pretty cool. I think my favorite part so far is just how easy it is to build out different steps and create pretty complex workflows. I'm a PM at a fintech company. We do loan originations, and I built this agent using the OpenAI API, and it integrates into Slack. And this is something I built a while ago. And so it references internal documentation to answer questions for employees about origination guidelines. But it was kind of complex to build out, took a while, and I didn't really have that much control. And so within a couple of minutes here in Agent Builder, I was pretty much able to not only replicate, but make what I think is going to be a much stronger agent workflow. So let's talk through the current steps right now. You have an input, which is just the user input. This is, I saw from one of their templates, you can have a query rewrite. So it actually takes the question and then rewrites it in a better way, depending on context you provide it. So I give it some context here. I also link it to our guidelines. So it'll take the question and then rewrite it based on its knowledge of the guidelines. Then we have a classify agent. So that's going to take the output of this and then determine, is this a typical Q&A flow, which it'll route to the Q&A agent? Is this fact finding, or is this something else, in which case it'll ask a question to clarify further to be able to route it more accurately. So I'm going to be focusing on this internal Q&A flow. Once this route is selected, it'll review that new query and it'll provide an answer. And so in here, in the instructions, I'm specifying that it can only use the file search, which is the full set of our guidelines. And so I already had this vector store, which is pretty easy to set up, but it's also really easy if you don't. You can just add a new file search tool here. You can select an existing vector store or create one. This is essentially what my internal app did that was integrated into Slack, and that was cool. But for me, it was kind of lacking. There wasn't a ton of verification and there were still some accuracy issues. And so what I was able to do with just adding a new node here is basically just add a second pass for verification and accuracy. So this agent will take the output of that first one, review it, and basically spot check the answer to make sure that it's accurate, there's no conflicts. And this really improves the overall output. So really, what's cool about this is just how quickly you can kind of create these complex workflows and then also monitor them, which is another really cool part of this, which I'll talk about in a second. So we've built out that first version. We can do a quick preview so I can ask a question. What is our policy on employment gaps? So this is a pretty common question in originations. How do you handle employment gaps on a loan application? So we can see it going through the different steps. And yeah, I actually this is not something I've used before, but this query rewrite is actually pretty helpful, especially since it's referencing the underlying guidelines. It can just frame the question with a lot more context. So here we go. It shows internal Q&A. So, still a good answer. It's referencing the guidelines. And then here we have our secondary verification response, and it sort of breaks out the reasoning and then provides a final answer. So I just thought this was a cool example. It was really fast to create, but I really like the idea of multiple runs, of having sub-agents who can fact check certain things. You could have an agent that is responsible for each of the guideline sections. So instead of having one vector store with all the guidelines, I could have 5 agents that each specialize in one. And then from that internal QA, you could route it to 5 different agents to verify and fact check and hopefully have a higher accuracy rate. And I'm definitely going to be playing around with this and building out new workflows. All right, so there you have it. That's the new agent builder tool from OpenAI.